let's move on to the next step. We are in step 30, and in this step we want to add a navigation bar. We want to make use of JSP fragments. JSP fragments is a very interesting feature which will help us to reduce the duplication that we have among the JSPs. And we have two exercises for you in this particular step. That is, align the login and welcome pages and also highlight the correct menu item. We'll discuss them a little bit more at a later point. So we want to add a navigation bar. So what we did is we created a simple navigation bar in here. Let's go ahead and add this to the list to do's page. So in the body, I'm adding the navigation content in. Actually, the navigation content which is present in here is quite simple. There's not a lot of stuff in here. The important classes in here are navbar and the navbar default. What I'll do is I'll save this and let's see the look once, and let's see what functionality is coming from where very soon. You see now that we have a navigation bar, and all the code that I had to add in for this is these 10 lines of code. What we have in here is something called navbar, navbar default. Let's remove each one of these classes and see what functionality they are giving in. So if I remove the navbar, everything would collapse. So now you'd see that the formatting of the navigation bar is completely gone out. So that's what this provides. The navbar default, what it provides is the colors and the stuff. When I say something is navbar default, it would be using this particular colors which you would be seeing right now, and it's formatted in this particular way. So that's it. And then we just have a simple div class, actually simple div, we don't need the class. So simple div which contains our brand, which is in 28 minutes. So it's having a class navbar brand. If I remove this particular thing, see what would happen. You see what's happening? It's unaligned. So this particular class is there in Bootstrap, which helps us to put any brand name down here. And the next thing which we want to do is to create the actual navigation bar, which is the home and the to-dos. What we are doing is we are using something called a UL, unordered list. So we are creating an unordered list. Let's see what would happen when I remove this particular class. You'd see that the navigation gets completely disturbed. So this is the one which brings us the basic navigation, and we are highlighting the active item by putting a class is equal to active. So if I put class is equal to active on any item, then that item becomes the active item. So let's see what happens. Now the active item becomes to do. So that's basically how the whole thing works. What we have done for now is we are redirecting the /login to the home button to /login and to do's here. So when I say homes, it takes me to the in 28 minutes dummy, and now I can manage my to-dos in here. When I click to-dos, I stay on the to-do page. We'll work a little later on a welcome page, and we'll take the users to their welcome page when they click the home button a little later. But for now, you have a navigation bar. That's really good. So now we have a navigation bar. If I want to add this navigation bar to todo.jsp, let's say I go to the todo.jsp right now, there is no navigation bar, right? So I would want to add the navigation bar to todo.jsp as well. That would be a pain because I would need to repeat the whole navigation bar in there. So how do we avoid it? We avoid it using a feature called JSP Fragments. Now in the views, I'm going to create a new folder, common. And in there, I would create small fragments of JSPs. So what I'd say is I'll create new JSP file. I'll call it header.jsp fragment. So I'll give an extension JSPF. So I have header.jspf. I want another one which is navigation.jspf. What I'll do is in the navigation, I would paste in the content of the navigation. I'll remove all this stuff. I don't really need all this stuff in. So let's start with navigation and include navigation first. So I'll take the navigation out from here, and I will include the navigation alone in the fragment navigation.jspf. So let's put it in here. And now I would want to include this navigate.jsf in my list to do's page. How do I do that? The way we do that is by using include file is equal to, relative to this file, it's in a folder called common / that's it. It's as simple as this. Now let's see if the navigation comes up. It remains the same. So the navigation is coming up. That's very good. So what I'll also do is I'll move this to the header.jspf. So I'll move this stuff to the header.jspf, and now I would want to include the header in here as what we want to do, header.jspf. Okay, no change in the page. That's really good. What we'll now do is the bottom part of the page is also similar everywhere. So what I'll do is I'll move this also to a footer.jspf. Actually, we don't really have a page footer as such right now, but that's okay. Whatever is the closing content of the body, we'll put it into the footer.jspf. So that's it. Now let's refresh the page and see if it's fine. Okay, that looks decent enough, I guess. So we have the whole page now split up. The list to do's page is not really one JSP. Actually, it's split up into multiple JSPs. I've not included the footer in here, and even then the page continues to display. That's okay, because there was just the closing tags in here. So let's add it in, because we want to be HTML5 compliant. So let's go ahead and do that. Have the footer also in here. So that's it. Now I can use this headers and footers in other JSPs as well. So what I'd do is I'd go to the todo.jsp and use this instead of the top thing, and I would go to the footer and include this in as. There's a small error that would come up. Let's see if we'll be able to find it and solve it. This is fine. We want to do update. The form will not be recognized. That's because we had this tag library, and this tag library was not defined in the header. So I'll move this as well to the header. So format and form. Let's redo all the changes. So now the todo.jsp does not have any warnings as well. So let's go ahead and now see if everything is coming up. So now you see that the data is also coming up. Earlier the data did not come up because the form tag was not really included in the header. So now we have all the tags included. Now if I do a change and do a submit, it would work perfectly fine. So now we have the two JSPs well formatted, todo.jsp and the list todo.jsp, and all the common things are in a common place. So we have a header, navigation, and a footer in a common place. There are a lot of alternatives to using these kind of fragments. There are frameworks like Tiles, which would help you to organize the whole thing in a proper way. In this step, we looked at adding a navigation bar, and we used JSP fragments for header, footer, and navigation. We'll leave you an exercise. If you see the login page, it's still not aligned. So you can go ahead and align them properly, and also you can go ahead and highlight the current menu item when you're doing the login and the welcome pages. Think about how you do that. There you go. Until the next step, bye-bye.